What's happening, everybody, and welcome to the pilot episode of our first podcast, Opinions from Offside. So, I'm Michael. I'm a lifelong West Ham fan. This is my pal Kanye, and we often talk football. We often talk a lot of nonsense, but for some reason, we thought some of you people might get a kick out of listening to some of our crazy views. So, let me hand you over, and Kanye can introduce himself. And no, he's not Callum Wilson.
Not Callum Wilson, not Marty Mouse Johnson, not Daniel Cormier, not Yao Romero yet. But I will be Kanye for this. I am a Liverpool fan, played football pretty much all my life, multiple positions, did a bit of coaching at college, a bit of sports science. Love watching the analytical side of it. Not too sure about Gary Neville's views on it, but, might be biased, being a Liverpool fan. Love having chats. Especially with Lee, we've been to watch. The last game we went to watch was the Tenerife Di Marino.
Yeah.
Brilliant, just sitting there analysing the pressing, the difference in pressing was brilliant. Just to see it from that side. So this is where we'll be coming in. Get a couple of guests and just give them some abuse and let them know that our opinions are right and theirs are wrong.
Exactly right. Yeah, we do like to analyse the game, not necessarily anything coherently, but we like to have a go. So hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun along the way. So the first topic, we both grew up watching football in the sort of late 80s, 90s, early 2000s. The question I pose is, was it better back then? Was the game a better game back then, a beautiful game?
I would say yes, purely for the fact that I believe that football is an entertainment commodity. It's there to entertain people to watch it. Whether you're playing it, talking about it, watching highlights, whatever. And I think just back in the day, we go with as hard as it is to say, they were the dominant force. They had 4-4-2, attacking fullbacks, Kanchelskis on one side, Giggs on the other, two strikers. It was attacking. They'd go and score 3-4 goals. It was very, at the time you had Arsenal. They had the 1-0 to the Arsenal chant, and it was, you never really hear about that Arsenal side being entertaining to watch. But the United side, with Giggs taking people on, all that. And I just think nowadays teams are try and set up not to lose rather than to go and win. Right,
but devil's avocado, and I probably would agree with you, but just playing devil's avocado here, as we like to do, devil's avocado. Your point of reference is a record-breaking Man United team with the likes of Giggs in it, and your Arsenal team with the likes of Overmars and people like that. Was it a better game when you were watching, no offence to them, but Bradford City?
I would say so, because if you look at teams now, say, for example, no offence to, say, Burnley, for example, or your Sheffield United. Sheffield United set up to not concede goals. They're not good. I think back in those days, if you couldn't defend, you attacked. That was it. So Bradford City, I don't know if you remember when, I think it was the last day of the season, Bradford needed to beat Liverpool to win, and they won 2-1. David Weatherall scored from a corner because they set the big centre back up. I think it was Cadamartre. I think got the winner. I think.
Yeah. Do you remember West Ham had around that same sort of time? We had a 5-4 with them as well. We had a young Stephen Bywater in goal, and Kanye was playing. Do you remember that game? 5-4. Dean Windass, I think, was playing for Bradford. Do you remember Dean Windass?
Yeah. Super Dean Windass. What's a player? What a bloke.
Yeah. So do you think that's mainly because I noticed when you started off saying entertainment-wise, you felt football was better then. Yeah. Is that because you're caveating that with the standard is better now, the athleticism, the pace of the game, the speed of the game? Is it because the formations we played back then, we don't really see the 4-4-2 very much anymore? What do you think the main differences are between then and now?
I think it's probably a combination of all of them. I mean, if you look at most teams, the go-to formation is 4-2-3-1 or a 4-2, 2 with a false striker. So the idea is it's bodies behind the ball. It's not. They get the few teams. You got Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal have started doing it. They press high to win the ball high, based on the concept that if we can win the ball higher up, then it's less running for our teams to be doing, getting backwards. But then back in them days, it was get the ball forward, get them turned. Now, you can't do that because you let the centre-backs play. Before, you would get them turned, you press, give it to the keeper. The keeper's not going to want to play out. Yes, the footballers are better. They are more athletic now. But footballers still make mistakes. Like, we watched it before. When I've played at levels, we always used to say, right, let one of the defenders have it. You pick which defender was the worst on the ball. He's the one that's passing into the middle. He's the one that's going long. You don't want your fullback doing it. You want one of the centre-backs doing it. It's just picking that centre-back who's going to make the mistakes. And I don't think now we'd rather get into our half, play through us, rather than get behind us. I think that's what's contributing to being a bit, not boring, but just as dull, a little bit duller. Teams don't really go at Man City now to go and beat them.
Yeah, safety first.
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's what it is. It's, if we can get to half time, we'll go from there.
Yeah, I think the pace of the game is changing, and I think the whole defending from the front, 10 behind the ball, has come from international football, really. A lot of these teams years ago, like the minnow teams, the smaller teams, they were forced to defend from the front. I think there's so much money in the game now, so much pressure, that we now have a press. I don't really remember in 90s football there really being a press. I mean, of course, you chased the ball when you're out of possession, but you didn't really have such an organised press from the front, or am I ignorant to that? What do you think?
No, I think back in those days, it was sort of, this is your man. I think most teams played a similar formation at 4-4-2. If I'm a right midfielder, I know the left back's my man. Where now, I think the teams that are good at things like that, they have an organised press. When one goes, they all go. I mean, Liverpool were probably the team I watched most, being a Liverpool fan, that used to do it. It used to be set off with Henderson. When Henderson pressed, they all pressed their man. They knew where it was going. Like, even you think Salah would be getting 30 goals a game, and it'd be up there with high sprints without the ball. Like, that's back in the day, that was unheard of for a forward to be running that. You save your energy for when you're in the box. I mean, Aguero, another one, prime example. When Pep came in at City, it was Aguero can't fit into my system. Aguero can't fit my system. But Aguero made himself fit into his system by doing the work. He showed that you can be a world-class forward and a hard worker. It was completely different. Yeah.
So not putting him in the same bracket as world-class forward, but my team have got obviously Mikel Antonio, who is a real workhorse up front.
Yeah.
Like, when you're talking about like bumping defenders off the ball and everything, you know, that he's invaluable. He's 34 or something now, and we've been able to find somebody with the same sort of characteristics, because he will run the channels, he'll hold the ball up, bring people into play. And I know other people do that, but just sometimes he's almost unplayable. You spoke earlier on about back in the day, you used to want to turn the defenders around. You'd mainly want to get behind the fullbacks, wouldn't you? Get to the byline, put crosses in.
Yeah.
We've seen in the modern game the introduction of inverted wingers and now inverted fullbacks. How do you think that's changed? Because it used to be, if I was playing on the right wing years ago, right-footed player on the right, left-footed player on the left. That seems to have changed. How do you think that's impacted the game? That surely has made it more compact in the middle and defensive.
Yeah, I think it's turned it into more, like, I'd say turned it into more mini areas. So once you get into that, if, as you say the right channel, you've got a left footer, 9 times out of 10, they're going to cut inside. So you're coming into like a mini game. You've got your right midfielder, your centre midfielder, your striker, maybe your right back playing a game against their left back, their centre back, their centre midfielder, their left midfielder. And it's just a small mini 4-on-4 sort of game where then certain players that look good at that, like Trent, for example, loves a switch. When Liverpool do that with Salah on the right, loves a switch to open up the play. You've got certain other defenders that can do that. But I like the idea of it. It mixes things up. It's a change. But as a defender, if I know you're always going to step inside, I'm happy to defend that. I'm just going to let you go on your weak side and try and float across him, which I'd expect my goalkeeper to claim or my big centre-backs to get rid of.
Yeah, for sure. The game has changed. I think we're in agreement, though. There's no school like the old school. Football was much more entertaining. Do you remember games between like that really attacking Kevin Keegan Newcastle side and Liverpool? They had a couple of like ding-dongs as well, didn't they? Like a 5-4 and 4-3. Do you remember those? Philip Albert and all that.
Weren't there? It was just like, okay, you score, we'll score. Let's see what you got. Like, I mean, nowadays, if that game was to come across now, you'd see like Keegan getting absolutely slated for why didn't you just change tactic, tell the defenders to keep the ball. But like, it wasn't Keegan's way. Like, I mean, don't forget, like, when we had the Galacticos of Real Madrid, it was you're going to score a goal. We're just going to score more. And I love that. Right?
Yeah.
And I think with not so much European football, I think it's more of a safety option. Defending is hard to do. You can defend brilliantly for 90 minutes, and then the 2 extra minutes you can see 3 goals. Then you've had a poor game. It's very hard to do. But I think certain teams and certain leagues, I think with England, we've changed now to a bit more of a team defensive idea in the Premier League. And the perfect example of that, I'd say, look at Chris Smalling. Struggled at United because he was asked to defend individually. Went to Italy where he defended the team like a world beater.
Yeah, absolutely. And just thinking about Kevin Keegan, it was almost like an early Ange Postecoglou, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah, this is how we play, regardless. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Great days. And I agree with you on that topic. Much more entertaining. Talking about the comparisons between the modern game, we've got a lot of technology now. The introduction of VAR, and now we have the automated offsides. I know you've got some opinions on that. You were looking up some of the stats and statistics, and I know you've got some thoughts on that. Yes, with that.
Well, I like the idea of VAR. I don't like the way it's implemented. I think that's what it is. Like, if you look at, say, rugby, for example, or even tennis, I like the idea of challenges. If there's something you think, you know what, I know that's wrong, let's challenge that. I like the idea of the TMO. The TMO in rugby, they show it on the big screen. The referee sees it, the television match official sees it, they both put the decision together. It's none of this, I'll have a look, and then I'll send you to the monitor, and you'll agree with what I say. Like, the referee will be refereeing that game, allow him to give him all the information to make the decision, not make the decision for him and take it out of his hands and go as a token, go and have a look. I mean, there's only been, last year in the Premier League, there was only once where the referee looked at the monitor and didn't go with the VAR's decision.
Yeah, I think when they're sent to the monitor, they're kind of telling them, you've got that wrong. Go and look at what we think. Do you know what I mean? Coming back to the challenges, how would that work then? Only the captain could make a challenge, 3 per game, 1 per half. How would you do that?
Well, if you were to go by the challenges, I think certain things would always need to be checked. I think, like, now we've got these semi-automatic offside, like they used at the Euros. That was brilliant. Show us how it comes up. Show it on the big screen so people know that he was offside. You move on. I think that should be just left as normal. But certain challenges, like as a player, you know if something's gone off in a game. Like, you can feel the moment. It should be one of those things discussed with the captain. And if they decide to challenge it, they challenge it. But then the only problem with how it works in a team sport, you'd have to have a lot of faith in your other players to get right. I mean, at the minute, a lot of players roll on the floor for no reason, which is
for sure.
I think maybe what I would probably go with if I had the decision, it would probably be with the referee to ask for VAR to check if there is something he's unsure about. So if they say, I think that might be a foul on the defender, but by winning the ball, he's put himself for a goal, let it go, see what happens, and then call the television match official. Right, I've let that go. I've seen that as potentially a foul on the defender. What do you think? And then talk it together. Allow everyone to hear it. Did you see the one in America where the referee announced it over to the crowd? The goal was checked for a potential foul on the defender. No foul. However, it was offside. The goal had been disallowed.
Most of the time, fans just want to understand what's going on. This is one of the big problems with VAR. You'll be in the ground. Again, last season, I was over at West Ham, and we waited nearly 4 minutes for a decision. Nobody knowing what's going on. Everyone trying to look at the screens. No information. I think in football, we're definitely lagging behind other sports. You mentioned rugby, and we have I forget what it's called, but you've got basically the ref line. You can hear the ref. You can hear the communication with the ref, between the ref and the captain. We're falling behind in tennis. Even in cricket, for years, they've had with the LBWs or the no ball. So definitely we're falling behind. I think there's a place for technology. I definitely think it's a good idea. I just think it's still... We're not monopolizing the technology properly because it still comes down to human error. It's still some human at Stockley Park looking at it, drawing lines on a screen as to whether your toenail's offside or not, or whether you're circumcised or not. So look, we'll move away from technology. That's maybe one for another day. I know we wanted to talk about going back in time to the old days. We both grew up on that beautiful Football Italia, did we not? Channel 4.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Jonathan Pierce was the main commentator, weren't he? He was brilliant on everything.
Yeah.
The playing. Oh, I mean, we were speaking about Batty Stuart the other day. Oh, Batty goal.
Mate.
What a player.
Yeah, he was absolutely brilliant. I'll tell you what, a good friend of mine I grew up with, Paul, he's part Italian. So he was obsessed with the Italian football. He liked Napoli back then, but we loved the players at AC Milan back in that. Rijkaard, Gullit and Van Basten through the years. They've had such great players over at AC Milan. About that Van Basten volley, by the way. Iconic, no? When you think of that sort of...
What, an ankle injury. Like, imagine, like, just crazy. An ankle injury finished him at 27, I think he retired.
Yeah, crazy. Just a funny story. Paul and I both love football. We used to play, and we both went out. And I think I've told you this off camera. We both went out and bought Lotto football boots. So I had the black ones with the silver Lotto logo, and he had the black ones with the green. And he played for his school, played rubbish. I played for my school, different schools. We both played for the district, both played rubbish. It was like, right, we've got to break these boots in. So we went over to the park and we were just trying to kick balls at the cricket pavilion. It was like, if you can hit the shutters on the cricket pavilion from like, I don't know, 20 yards away, both one over there, one shot over there. So bad. But we felt like those boots were cursed. They looked beautiful, but neither of us, I don't know if it must have been psychological, but he got in trouble with his dad because we were about 13 or something. He ended up throwing them straight in the bin, went out and bought some Puma Kings. So yeah, just really.
Just got in the
They were about 50 or 60 quid back then. What were your boots of choice? What were your boots of choice? Mine was always Puma King, generally.
I usually had to wear Nike because they had wide feet, but my favourites were the Adidas Predators, the Cardinal red colour, because they were the first ones I won a trophy with as an adult. I had 3 pairs of boots at the time, moulded blades, moulded, and some studs. And they were the ones I picked for the final to wear because of the ground. And we spanked the team above us 3-0 and it was just such a good game. Just so nice to play. And it's only afterwards when we seen the cameraman and the pictures book that were put up. Oh, my boots match my kit. It was great.
They were the first blades as well, weren't they? They were the first bladed boots.
Maybe. I remember I worked at Sports Direct at the time and they were £140 and they put them on sale. We were only allowed to buy boots on Thursdays. So this was I think it was a Sunday. Boots would come on sale straight in the stock room upstairs, hide them away. No one touched them. I'm buying them on Thursday.
Mate, look, we're just jumping through a few subjects today on this pilot episode, but we could definitely have a deep dive. And if anybody's interested in throwing some questions or leaving some comments or some certain issues you want to talk about in another show, we'll do that. We'll just jump on quickly. Unpopular opinions. Now, this is going to be a regular segment on the show. We're going to talk about maybe a controversial subject and we're going to debate it. And I believe you've got one up your sleeve today, haven't you?
I've got a couple. I'm going to go with Olivier Giroud. In his generation, is an underrated striker and at times was top 10 in the world. For what he's done.
The top 10 bit, maybe. How unpopular do you think the underrated bit is? I think a lot of people can see the statistics and it speaks for itself. He was integral part of that France team and the Chelsea team.
Yeah, but people don't talk about that. They talk about that French team. It was Kante, it was Pogba, it was Mbappe. You don't really talk about Giroud. The way he brought other players in. Like, I can imagine him being an absolute nightmare to mark. Just a nightmare. He's just he's not really known for being fast, but he's just clever with where he needed to be. He put himself in positions to create space for others. Very unselfish forward. And I know if you look at, say, the last 10 years of Giroud's career, you've got Kane who was scoring goals. But as we've seen, Kane scores goals, but he doesn't really help the team. I know goals help teams, but he's gone to Bayern Munich, who have won the league 10 years in a row, and not won it.
Yeah, Giroud was great in the air, not just headed goals, but bringing players into play as well, wasn't he?
Brilliant. He did the dirty work, which was, I think, what a lot of nowadays, maybe why we don't have as many number 9s, because they don't want to do that. I mean, you've got Watkins does that, Tony does that. If you watch Kane, doesn't want to do that. Doesn't want to do the bit where I'm just going to stand on the centre back, push them back to create space for the 10. I'm going to run that funnel, knowing I'm not going to get the ball, but I'm going to create a hole for someone else. I don't think you get that as much anymore. I think people are more, how am I going to influence the play with the ball rather than I can influence the play without the ball. I mean, you're without the ball more. So if you can do that, I think that's why I think Giroud is very underrated as a striker from his generation. I mean, just looking at him, like he's just a monster of a man. Scores beautiful goals. If you watch his highlights, you think he's up there as Zlatan, like ability-wise. But I think
that's a big statement. Let us know in the comments below whether you agree with Kanye or not, and give us another one. Give us another unpopular opinion. We'll just breeze through another one. What was the other one you had up your sleeve?
This one might divide facts. I think this could divide people.
Right, go on. That's what we like. We like conversation.
Kevin De Bruyne is the best Premier League midfielder so far. Ever.
In the Premier League era, you say?
In the Premier League era. Best centre midfielder in the Premier League era.
Better than Gerrard.
As a footballer, yes. As a package, I would say no, because Gerrard can defend. But as an actual footballer, yeah. For what he could do left foot, right foot, score, set pieces. And he does do his defensive work. And he's in a team. Yeah, he's in a fantastic team. And Gerrard was in, at times, a very average Liverpool team. But I just think De Bruyne is just a different animal. I just think he can do. He's just brilliant.
Playing devil's advocate a second, then here's a couple of points for you, counter points. If you took away his passing, what else does he offer?
You'd be surprised how fast he is.
Right.
You would be very surprised how fast he is.
Even at his age now.
Yeah, you'd be like, obviously he was faster before. I know he's had injuries and it slowed him down a little bit, but he's still quicker than you would expect. Similar to Gerrard. If you ask people that have played against Gerrard, you don't see how quick he is until he's gone past you. He was lightning, but as an actual overall midfielder, I would say Gerrard is better. But I think as an attacking force as a footballer, I think De Bruyne is just another level. His left foot, right foot, he scores goals. His set pieces are always on point. His positioning, if you watch the assists he gets, it's not so much the passing. The passing is not that spectacular in these areas. But if you watch, he's always running to that 6-yard line, about 5 to 7 yards right of that. He's always finding those space where there's full of players, especially now with everyone being very compact, very defensive. The box is usually swamped, and he finds the space to do easy 6-7 yard square balls for players like Aguero or Haaland to tap in.
But then does he need those quality of players around him? If you took him out of that elite team, would he be the same? Let me give you my argument. We've got, over at West Ham, we've got Lucas Paqueta, or Paquetá, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And a lot last season, people just weren't on his wavelength. He was playing balls no one else was making the runs for. He was trying to play little 1-2s. People's minds weren't quick enough to pop it back to him. Would he be the same if you took him out of that elite team and he played for somebody mid-table?
I would personally say yeah, because I think De Bruyne has a very similar mindset to what I try and do. I know there's certain people I can fizz a ball in hip height and they'll bring it down. I have to adjust my passes to certain people. I know there's certain people I've played with, I can't hit the ball 10 yards in front of them because they're not going to move for it. I have to hit the ball where they are. And I think De Bruyne is clever enough to do that. I think he would adapt the way he played for those people.
So what went wrong at Chelsea? Why didn't he make it there if he had all these tools and attributes?
Well, I would probably say he wasn't given a chance. I think he probably struggled with confidence. I mean, you could say that about Fury. Look at the players that Chelsea have gone and bought back, or the players that have gone and done well after leaving Chelsea.
Mohamed Salah. He was on Chelsea's books, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. At the time, Chelsea were buying players, and I would probably say it was down to Mourinho, the style that he wanted to play. And that's not a fault of Mourinho. I still think Mourinho is probably... I think Mourinho's a better manager than Pep, in my opinion. Like, that's probably
another controversial opinion. Again, let us know below in the comments what you think about some of Kanye's opinions here. Big statements today. Coming out with a bang.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Let's get it out there. But I would say purely, something like that, I think, is the style of manager. Like, there's certain players that will do well. I mean, you've probably seen the conversation with Neil Warnock and Paddy Kenner, or how Harry Redknapp always bought Nico Cranshaw and Defoe and Trout wherever he went. Certain players will play for certain managers. I'm just thinking, if that's the case, there's certain managers I used to love to play for, and there's certain managers I hated playing for. Like they didn't bring out or encourage me to play how I wanted to play. Maybe that was the issue with De Bruyne at Chelsea. What was he, 19 years old?
Yeah.
And if it didn't work at Chelsea, Wolfsburg still spent 20 million at the time, of a lot of money for a player that apparently didn't work.
Yeah. Do you think the move to Germany helped him develop his game?
I think from personal experience playing against like Spanish people out here, it's crazy to see the difference in culture from football. Like
technique's definitely better here.
Oh yeah, but here they will keep the ball for keep the ball's sake. While in England, when I played at amateur level, it's back to like the 90s, like get a return, get in the channels, get rid of it. If the ball's in there off, they can't score. While in Spain, it's very much if we've got the ball, they can't score. And it's such a difference. And I think probably playing in Germany has massively, massively helped him. It's just a shame he didn't choose to play for England. Could you imagine De Bruyne playing for England? Oh.
Do you know what? That's another topic for another show. Players, international players that changed allegiance, because if originally Ryan Giggs was Ryan Wilson, wasn't he? Yeah. So he could have, there was a difference between his mum's and his dad's name. So he could have played. He played at under 17s level, I believe, for England. Imagine that team, that golden generation had Giggs on the left, that difficult left wing position that we just tried. We tried Scholes in that position. We tried Joe Cole in that position. We tried Trevor Sinclair in that position. Imagine Giggs, I think, would have been the missing piece. Well, just to fly through, because I know we're a little bit pushed for time today, one little segment we're going to have for a little bit of fun, and we mean no offense to anybody, is we'd like to reminisce, and we play a game, Kanye and I. We do obscure players. So, for example, I might throw at Fraser, I might say Chris Bart Williams.
Oh, and then pretty big. What about Jason Lee?
Jason Lee. So we're going with Forest at the moment. So I would say, what about Neil Webb?
Neil Webb. I raise you, Neil Webb, and see you, Brian Roy.
Brian Roy. So did he play for? So the rules of the game are, you name somebody that's almost forgotten or a little obscure, and then you can then take a player in that team or one of the other clubs they played for. Right? Yeah. Am I right in saying, did Brian Roy play for Norwich for a little while, or have I got that wrong?
I know he was at Forest. He definitely could have been. It may be Norwich, but it was definitely at Forest.
Right. So if we're staying at Forest, I'm going to say Sloan. Was it Ian Sloan?
Ian Sloan. The legendary Mark Crossler. The goalkeeper.
Mark. Steve Stone.
Steve Stone, legend. Steve Stone. I'll raise you, Steve Stone. Herman Hreiderson.
Do you know what? I was watching the West Ham Wolves game the other day, and it was in Florida, in Jacksonville, Florida, and there was like a tropical storm, and it was delayed so long. I said, by the time this starts, I made a joke on the WhatsApp group. I said, by the time this starts, like I've lost all concept of time. I'm expecting Steve Ball to come running out for Wolves. What a goal scorer he was. Yeah.
Knew where the goal was, didn't it?
Yeah.
Put the ball in.
Yeah. So listen, I'm mindful of the time, because I know the time of recording, you've got to go and play football this afternoon. So I think we're probably going to wrap it up there, but it's so much unfinished business here. We've got lots of subjects to talk about. Just wanted to introduce ourselves, really. Again, leave your comments below about what you thought about the first pilot podcast, some of the controversial opinions, the fors and againsts. Helps us. We've got 2 subscribers at the moment, so early days, but we've done no promo on it. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're going to try and do this as a regular thing. And just let us know if this is the sort of concept that you'd be into. But for now, I enjoyed that, mate. I don't know how you felt about that.
I liked it. Good next time I'll get you talking more. Let's hear your popular opinions next time.
Well, do you know what? I was trying to host it a little bit for this one while we flash through. But when we got a little bit more time, we'll bounce off each other. Until next time, thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.